You know those people that are constantly able to evolve. It seems like they just get to the next level each and every single day, each and every single week. It's like they're just always on fire. Those people have something figured out that maybe you don't. Maybe you feel like you're stuck. Maybe you feel like you just can't get to that next level. Maybe it feels like you've hit some real progress and then all of a sudden you've stalled out, plateaued, gotten stuck. And you see the other side, right? There's like that glass ceiling, and you see what the other side looks like. Maybe you have it clearly envisioned in your head, but for some reason you're stuck, hit a plateau, and you really don't know how to break free. Well, I think I've come up with an equation. In fact, I know I've come up with an equation that I personally use, and this is how I break past plateaus each and every day. My name is Neil Thacker. I am the founder and CEO of Evolver. I'm absolutely obsessed with human transformation and biohacking. Grew a company from 0 to 3 million in the past couple of years. Was nationally qualified bodybuilder, Division 1 soccer player, and I have nothing here to sell you. I sound like Alex Ramos right now. I have nothing here to sell you except for the fact that I may have a little bit of advice here. So, anyway, um, as I was saying, is those people that seem to just constantly be evolving, right? What's their trick and what's their secret? So I came up with an equation, and I think this equation will help you because this is the equation that I use for myself. And really, after analyzing hundreds and thousands, really, of successful people, I've come to realize that this is essentially the equation that they use, whether they know it or not. All right. And I would also like to add that this equation is rooted in science. It's rooted in psychology. It's actually rooted in thermodynamics. And so ultimately, this is not airy fairy woo woo bullshit, although it may sound like it at times. But this is actually a sound equation for evolution. Okay. And so here's what it is. Very simply put, the equation for evolution, right? And let's also remember evolution is an ongoing process. So it's not just you get to evolution and then that's it, but it's an ongoing process, right? And so the equation for it is very simply this. It is state management plus entropy. State management plus intentional entropy equals evolution. So what does that mean? Well, let's define everything here. So state management, what is that? Well, it is the management of one state. So let's ask a question. If you're feeling like shit all the time, if you're feeling exhausted, if you're feeling uneasy, if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling like like you're not at your best, like your heart is not able to expand, like you're not able to be creative, right? Is that an optimal state? No, it's not an optimal state. Okay. Now let's say on the flip side, if you're calm, if you're grounded, if you're at ease, but you're alert, you're attentive, you have lots of energy, you have verbal fluency as a result of this, right? Is that a optimal state? The answer to that question is yes. I think that we all want calm alertness. Okay, of course, unless we're trying to go to sleep, then we want calm. Okay, and maybe if we're trying to really crush a workout, with the utmost intensity. Excuse me. If we're trying to crush a workout with the utmost intensity, well, then at that point, maybe alertness, intensity, and perhaps maybe even calmness is not something we want unless we're doing a performance sport like martial arts or something of that nature. But for the most part, calm alertness is a high performance state. Okay, when you're grounded, but yet you still have a heightened amount of energy. You're alert. You're able to discern everything going on. Your sensory perception is very acute. It's very sharp. But once again, you don't feel anxiety. This is a very high performance state. Okay. And so if you're not able to manage your state and get into this high performance state where you're calm and alert so that you can get into flow, so that you can feel very present, right? If you're not able to be here, well, then an evolution is not possible. Okay. Right. But great. So now we are in this calm alert state, this high performance state, this high energy state, this state where we're present, our mitochondria or the powerhouses within our cells, they're working, right? Okay, we're here. But like, what's next, right? Like, are you just inevitably going to evolve because you feel great? No. I see this all the time. I see lots of people in the personal development space. I see lots of coaches. I see lots of entrepreneurs. I see lots of entrepreneurs for sure. you know, optimize their state, and then they just don't fucking do anything with it, right? How's that going to help, right? So the first part is state management, but that's not the be all end all. Second part is intentional entropy. Okay, so now what is entropy? Well, entropy is the actual quantifiable amount of chaos or stress in a system. This is a term used in chemistry and in physics. Okay, entropy is the amount of quantifiable chaos in a given system. Okay, and so there's actually a law of thermodynamics, the second law of thermodynamics, that all systems are progressing towards increased entropy or increased chaos. Okay, and so check this out. I speak about this all the time, but basically, if you have a system that's progressing towards more and more entropy or chaos, right, or stress, these words can be used interchangeably, right? Disorder, right? Well, what's eventually going to happen is that system is going to be subjected to so much stress and so much disorder, right, that it reaches a maximization point. This maximization point is called the bifurcation point. Okay. At the bifurcation point, one of two things is going to happen to the system. It's going to get killed. Okay. It's going to cease to exist. Or what's going to happen is it's going to break, but propel into what's called a higher order equilibrium. It's going to elevate to a higher level. And what ends up occurring is that now when that system is at this higher level, well, guess what? When it's subjected to an equivalent amount of chaos, entropy, or stress that the old system was, right? Or when it gets subjected to that old bifurcation point, which, if you remember, that was the maximum amount of stress that that old system could handle. Well, it's barely going to be rattled. It's not going to be in the threat of dying. It's not going to be in the threat of hitting a bifurcation point, because its bifurcation point, that elevated system, that system with a higher order equilibrium, okay, meaning that it has order instead of chaos at a higher level, right? Well, once again, it's higher, right? So for it to reach its maximal bifurcation point, for it to reach its maximal breaking point, right, that's a higher level than the old highest breaking point. Okay. And so I know that was a lot of science and jargon that I threw out at you, but this is actually how it's defined in thermodynamics. So let's talk about this in real life, right? Let's talk about someone who's gone through some serious shit. Let's talk about someone who's gone through some serious adversity. Okay. Right. Well, now when they're subjected to a lesser amount of adversity, they can handle it. Right. But now let's talk about the person that's a little bitch, the person that's soft, the person that has not been subjected to much entropy, chaos, or stress in their life, right? Can they deal with things? The answer to that is no. They can't. They can't deal with things, right? They can't deal with stress, right? And so let's look at someone who's lifted a lot of weights. Let's look at someone who's ran, right? The runner, he's ran a lot, okay? When he's then asked to, the marathon runner, when he's asked to run 5-6 miles, can he easily do it? Pretty easily, right? Because he's subjected himself or herself to a very high level of entropy, chaos, or stress, right, through the process of running and training to run 26.2 miles at a time. So when he or her then have to run 5 or 6 miles, well, that's not a bifurcation point for them, because they have been subjected to so much entropy that they're at a much higher level, that they're at a much higher order equilibrium. And so this applies to every system in the universe. So let's take this back to the equation that I provided. State management plus intentional entropy equals evolution. So let's talk about that. Why does that work? Well, let's just think about this here. If you're tired all the time, if you're in a shitty state, okay, are you going to be able to intentionally subject yourself to a very high amount of entropy? The answer to that question is no. Now, it may feel like it, but let's just bring this back to the example of the gym, okay? If you're exhausted, if you're sore, your muscles are tired, okay, and your max bench press is a 405-pound bench press, okay, but you're sore as shit, and you go into the gym and you try and bench 405, right? Are you going to be able to do it? The answer to that question is probably not. You very likely, in fact, guarantee you won't be able to do that, right? Does this make sense? You very likely won't be able to do that. But now, let's just say that you were fresh, you were rested, you felt great, and you went into the gym and you try and hit your max, right? You were well fed, you were in just a great high performance state. And then you went to try and hit that max, or maybe 2 pounds heavier than the max. Guess what? The chances of you hitting that are going to be really freaking high. And that's where that bifurcation point is. That's where that maximal amount of entropy is, right? Is at that level that's close to your max, that's close to failure. And this is where the adaptations are made. When the body is pushed beyond a threshold that it normally can handle, but only ever so slightly. And if we do this consistently over time, where we manage our state so that we are in a position, right, spiritually, emotionally, physically, for us to then intentionally subject ourselves to stress or entropy that's slightly more than we can handle, right? We're going to grow. We're going to evolve. We're going to improve, right? And so we must remember that for us to subject ourselves to the maximal amount of entropy, to reach that bifurcation point, to reach that maximization point, so that we can genuinely create an evolution, we need to be in the right state. So let's talk about what normally happens in phenomena, and then let's talk about what needs to happen. What normally happens, right, in Western society is that we're working these 14-hour days and we're not resting that much. We're not meditating. We're not committing to self-care. We're not committing to state management. And so we feel this low-grade stress all the time. Slightly elevated cortisol, but chronic, right? Slightly elevated blood sugar, but chronic. And over time, this goes from a little bit to a lot. Blood sugar goes from a little bit to a lot. Dopamine levels, baseline dopamine levels go from high to lower to lower to lower to lower. So now we're in this low performance state, low energy state, okay? We can't push ourselves nearly as hard as we'd like to. So then we don't make any evolutions. And then we feel stuck. And then comes that downward spiral, that downward feedback loop, characterized by feelings of discouragement, shame, guilt, frustration, and unease. This low performance state, followed by this inability for us to subject ourselves to the amount of entropy that we want, or chaos that we want, or stress that we want, keeps us stuck. And so it's important for us to manage our state and then subject ourselves to intentional entropy. Now, just the last point I'd like to make. We have something called our mesocortical limbic system, okay? So let's focus on the cortico-limbic part of that. The limbic system is the emotional system. The cortico is related to our prefrontal cortex, right? The thinking brain. Humans were blessed in that we have the thinking brain, okay? So now our hormonal system, our endocrine system, and the system, our nervous system, the system of our nerves, right? Really can't tell the difference between intentional entropy and just normal entropy, meaning that if life throws stress at you, right, versus if you stress yourself out, the same neurotransmitters and hormones are going to be released, right? Cortisol, dopamine, and norepinephrine, which is dopamine's best friend. Energy, adrenaline, that's what norepinephrine is, right? Your hormonal system, your endocrine system, and the neurotransmitters that correspondingly get released with that don't know the difference, right? It's just they're stressed. Let me just release, right? So why is it that intentional entropy needs to be subjected here? Why can't it just be life stressing you the fuck out and then you grow that way? Well, sometimes it does actually end up happening that way. But the thing is that the corticolimbic system, right, the rational part of this whole thing, okay, right? Well, when we are able to think our way through this and we're able to subject ourselves to stress with intention, saying, okay, I'm the one stressing myself out. I'm the one forcing myself to run 3 miles, 5 miles, 10 miles. I'm the one pushing myself in this workday. I'm the one choosing the amount of stress, right? There comes a state of ease. There comes a state of control because we feel like we're in control, okay? And this is really important. Dr. Andrew Huberman, someone who I am a huge fan of, I love that guy. He talks much more in depth about this, about the mesocortical limbic system. So definitely look that up if you're interested in getting more details about it. But just recognize that it's not just state management and entropy. It's state management plus intentional entropy yields evolution. And if you could continually go through this process of managing your state, making sure you feel amazing, making sure that your limbic system is calm where it needs to be, your nervous system is calm, it's where it needs to be, you're well fed, you're hydrated, you're rested, you're centered, you've meditated, you've done all those things, you've read, you've generated positive emotional states, you've developed great relationships with people, right? And you're in that alert, calm state, and then you fucking attack, right? You commit spiritual warfare on yourself. You go to work, you push yourself, you commit to deep work, you push yourself in the gym, right? When you do that constantly every single day and you make sure both of those boxes are checked, evolution is inevitable and you're going to get that. If you're watching this live, comment hashtag live. If you're watching this on the replay, comment hashtag replay. Quantum Mind Gold, Quantum Mind Non-Stim are on the market. Definitely check them out. Both awesome products. Till next time, peace.